Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back here to today's edition of Intuitive Angling, and really appreciate you guys swinging by the channel to check out today's episode. And guys, today we're going to be talking about Ranger boats and what has happened to Ranger boats. So I sort of want to run you guys through a timeline of my involvement with it and do some commentary on this, because a lot of you guys may or may not know that I was, with Ranger boats for over 30 years, and I was good friends with Forrest and Nina Wood, and it's nothing like what it used to be. So I want to sort of have a little discussion on what the heck has happened to Ranger boats in today's video here. Also, guys, for get started, thank you very much for everybody that's taken time to take advantage of that big Tackle Warehouse Black Friday sale going on now. If you guys are wanting to get some good deals on tackle, my link's in the description to Tackle Warehouse. If you guys use that link, you can get some good deals up to 25% right now on tackle and everything on the site. And also, guys, thank you very much for everybody that's taken time to sign up to Intuitive Angling as a channel member. Channel members get private videos every week that aren't seen by the public, and you get access to my email address, so you can email me personally about your fishing questions and we can communicate. We've got membership starting at $4.99 a month, and all you have to do is go to my homepage and click the join button or membership button for information. So really appreciate all the support of the channel, guys. Big thank you from me and my family there. Okay, guys, as somebody that has, been part of that Ranger family for a long time, I'm, really, just really sad to see what's happened to the company compared to what it was when I'm getting ready to tell you about here. Here was the deal. It's like, when I started fishing back in the 70s, I started following pros big time. And some of my favorite pros that I followed were like Hank Parker and Roland Martin and Basil Bacon. And this was back in the late 70s and early 80s. And it was when I was wanting to be a pro fisherman. I was working towards being a pro fisherman. And the thing about Hank and Basil Bacon and Roland is they all ran a Ranger boat. So obviously I wanted to run a Ranger boat because my three favorite bass pros ran a Ranger boat. And then there were also some guys back home here in my part of the country that were dominant forces in the sport, like Terry Thomas, one of my mentors in the sport. He ran a Ranger. And me being a 20-year-old kid, I wanted to run a Ranger more than anything else. So anyway, in 1984, that was the first year I fished the Red Man Tournament Circuit, which is now the BFLs. And I had a beat up old 15-foot Champion bass boat. Thing was like, it was a mean 15 Champion. The thing was like a death trap. It's like, it was set so to the low to the water. It was 15 feet long with a 150 horsepower motor. I bought it for $3,000, saving up as much money as I could. And anyway, I went to Kentucky Lake, and I qualified for the the Red Man All-American down at Lake Toho, Florida, which Shaw Grigsby won. And that tournament was sponsored by Ranger Boats. So as a result of qualifying for the All-American, I got what was called Ranger offered me like it was called a memo bill boat, where they let me use the boat for a year and they didn't charge me anything. At the end of the year, I had to sell the boat and pay them the money back, which was great. So basically I could fish out of a new Ranger for free. So anyway, that was the deal. I started my first year on the Bassmaster Circuit in 1985, and about midway through the season, I got a call from Nina Wood, Forrest Wood's wife, Nina, and she goes, "Hey," and I'll never forget this, because I was actually at Bass Pro Shop. I was inside Bass Pro shopping, and I get this call. My mom, I'd called home to check in with my parents, and my mom told me that Nina Wood had called me, and I'm like, oh my God, what Nina Wood wants. So when I got home, I called them back down there, and Nina goes, "Hey Randy, I just want to know you're doing really good. You're in Bassmaster right now. It was halfway through my rookie season." She goes, we just wanted to know if you'd be interested in getting sponsored by Ranger Boats, and we'll pay your entry fees to the tournaments. And I'm like, oh my God, this is a dream come true. It's like, absolutely, I'd absolutely love that. So I was like, this is my first sponsorship, my first financial sponsorship, getting my entry fees paid from Ranger Boats. So throughout the course of the years after that, it's like every year, when I got my new boat down there, the memo, I'd go down, to Flippin, Arkansas. I'd go into Forrest Wood's office. Forrest would be in the office. Him and Nina would invite me in. We'd sit there and talk for an hour, with Forrest in his office about the good old days, and Forrest talking about cows. And then Nina, she loved to bowl. She bowled in a league, and I did too. So Nina and I would talk about bowling all the time. And it was like talking to my grandpa and grandma. It was so unbelievably awesome. Every year I'd go down there and do that. And then I'd see Forrest and Nina at the tournaments and at the Ranger meetings. And this went on for, the next, close to 10 years until they sold the boat company. So they sold Ranger Boats. I believe it was to Genmar back in the 90s, which I think Irwin Jacobs owned that. But anyway, they sold out. So once they sold out, Forrest and Nina, they still had a part to play in the company, but it was more of like a PR deal. They didn't own the company anymore, so it's not like I went down there and I could hang out with Forrest and Nina. And throughout the course of the years and years and years, all this continued to change. I think the Ranger Boats got sold to maybe a couple other companies, and then as the years went on, it's like that whole vibe of Forrest and Nina and the Down Home Ranger Boat Company and all the great people that worked at Ranger Boats that lived there in Flippin, Arkansas, that started to give way to more like of a corporate, takeover of the company. And eventually the thing that, really sort of led to the point where it is now, where it was just really sad on my part, is in 2010, my mom had a stroke and she was bedridden. And at the same time, I had an accident where I had a knife ran all the way through my hand. So half my hand was paralyzed. So I had to set out for the 2010 season of Bassmaster and FLW. And it just devastated me because I couldn't do it. I couldn't be away from my mom and my hand and everything. I told my sponsors about it. And when I came back for the 2011 season, Ranger told me that they weren't going to sponsor me anymore. And I just couldn't believe it, because I was just like, I was such a part of the organization forever, and, close friends with Forrest and Nina. And now that the company sold out to different companies and they're going to a different direction, I basically got thrown under the bus, because of a hardship case. And as a result, things moved on and moved on. They started getting rid of more and more of their pro staff. At one time, they had 50 or 60 people, and they cut it down to next to nothing. And then Bass Pro Shop bought it out, and now it's like, it doesn't even resemble anything from the Ranger Boat Company that I used to know. And that's sort of been the evolution with it. It's sort of like one of those things where you take a company that is like a family-owned, real intimate type of an atmosphere of the company, and then once it gets bought out by different type of corporations, it loses all that and it diminishes with that. And as a result, I don't hardly ever see anybody in a Ranger boat anymore. I used to be, everybody had one and wanted one, and it's like now it's just sort of went by the wayside a little bit, by being bought out by big corporations. So that's just the way it works, guys. But like I said, I have never been more happy. Right now I'm, working with Vexus Boats, and a lot of the people that used to work with Ranger now work with Vexus. It's like being back at home again, as far as, just that down home feeling where everybody. So I couldn't be more happier being, running Vexus Boats now. But I just wanted to share that with you guys, sort of like the evolution of Ranger Boats and my part of it a little bit. It's sort of one of those things that I just wish they would never sold, man. It's just like, there's two things in this industry I wish would never happen. Number one, I wish Forrest and Nina would have never sold Ranger Boats. I wish it would have stayed in the family and stayed, the way it was like in the early 80s. And I wish Ray Scott would have never sold Bassmaster. I wish Ray Scott would have retained Bassmaster, not sold it out, because in my opinion, when Ray Scott sold Bassmaster and when Forrest and Nina Wood sold Ranger, it diminished two of the most iconic brands the sport have ever seen, and not for the better, in my opinion. So, okay, guys, thank you. Let me know what y'all think about it. We'll talk later.